Comrade Supreme Commander, the joint forces are executing the special military operation plan. The Chief of the General Staff is a hero of Russia.
Good day.
Comrade Supreme Commander, the participants are ready. Colonel General, Chief of Main Operations.
Respected comrades, good day to you all. We'll conduct another meeting today. Yeah? At the prior meeting, the main attention was devoted to the execution of tasks in the area of responsibility of the West and South Force groupings. Concerning the West military grouping, they held discussions regarding the overall situation within their designated zone of responsibility, and furthermore, they addressed how the current operational circumstances are developing in the vicinity of Kupiansk City. Regarding the Southern Front, the commander reported on the situation within his area of responsibility, and he also detailed the progress of combat operations both inside and surrounding the city of Seversk. As for the groups, in the center and the east, it is quite clear that here, just as along the entire line of combat engagement, the initiative is now fully and completely in the hands of our armed forces. And today, we'll continue our work. We'll discuss in more detail the situation in your group's areas of responsibility, dear comrades. Of course, first of all, I'd like to receive an update on the situation in the city of Krasnoarmeysk and your assessment of how events might unfold in that particular area. As for the Vostok group, I know the speed at which they are operating. Your troops are moving in the given direction. They've reached the city of Huliaipol, and of course, I'd like to hear information regarding the current situation, and specifically in the Huliaipol area. But, and perhaps most crucially, what is your assessment? What measures do you propose to undertake within your designated area of responsibility to ensure the successful resolution of the objectives set for your unit in the most efficient manner possible? The Chief of the General Staff reported at the last meeting on the results of tasks performed in all areas, including these, and the commander of the troop groups will report in more detail on the situation's development in your areas of responsibility. Furthermore, within the scope of today's planned activities, we will consider the specific tasks that are currently facing the troops of the unified grouping, and we will also thoroughly discuss the most critical issues related to the provision and support of our forces. Let's not forget that winter is approaching, and we must keep that in mind. Our people must be provided with all essentials. And Valery Vasilievich, I would ask you, among other things, to report on the situation that is developing in the area of responsibility of the North grouping, bearing in mind that it has been tasked with creating security zones along the state border. In this regard, I would like to hear about the situation in the area of the city of Volchansk and in Volchansk itself.
Comrade Supreme Commander, in accordance with the strategic plan for the special military operation, the troops of the joint grouping are carrying out an offensive on a broad front. The command of Ukraine's armed forces continues its unsuccessful attempt to deblock its encircled groupings in the Kupiansk and Krasnoarmeysk directions, and strives to stop our advance in the Krasny Liman, Severodonetsk, Dnipropetrovsk, and Zaporizhia directions. The Sever grouping of forces today completed the liberation of the city of Volchansk. In addition, as part of establishing a security zone in the border areas of Ukraine's Sumy and Kharkiv regions, 3 more settlements came under our control in November: Sinelnikovo, Tsegelnaya, and Vorochenskoye. Military units and formations belonging to the West group of forces have concentrated their primary efforts on the Krasny direction and on the left bank of the Stary Oskol River regarding the defeat of the encircled grouping after the capture of Kupiansk, and they continued to tighten the ring to eliminate this blocked grouping. Its strength is approximately 15 battalions.
Last time you were speaking, and I asked a question then. Pause. Can't the enemy just move south along the left bank of the Oskol River?
No, it cannot, because there, pause, just to the south of this encircled enemy grouping, there's a very strong and dense defense line established by the 1st Tank Army all along the entire left bank.
And it goes about 17 kilometers south. This is defense. An offensive is developing in the Rubtsovsk and Krasnolimansk directions as well by the West grouping. And the assault units of the West grouping have entered Krasny Lyman and are currently fighting in the southeastern and eastern parts of the city. Fierce street battles are ongoing in Drobashevo and Yarove. This is in the Krasny Lyman sector. The southern group of forces is developing an offensive in the northern part of the Donetsk People's Republic. In the Seversk sector, as a result of active combat operations, the settlements of Zvanovka, Vasyukovka, and Petrovsky have been liberated. In Seversk itself, assault units of the Third Army are conducting street battles and expanding their zone of control in the city's northeastern and southern districts, liberating more than 100 buildings in Seversk every single day. In the Kramatorsk-Druskivka direction, the South Group also liberated Ivanopilia, and street fighting continues in Kostiantinivka. The southeastern and eastern parts of the city of Konstantinovka have come under our control. This accounts for more than 30% of all buildings in Konstantinovka. Troops of the Center Group have liberated the city of Krasnoarmeysk and continue to destroy enemy units in Dimitrov. Furthermore, a portion of the group's forces is successfully developing an offensive in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Vostok troop grouping continues its high-tempo offensive in the western direction, expanding its control zone in the Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhzhia regions. The Dnipro group's forces are advancing in the Zaporizhzhia direction. The settlement of Stepanohirsk is encircled, and fighting is underway for control of Primorsk. In addition, according to the General Staff's plan, the delivery of retaliatory massive strikes continues against facilities of Ukraine's military-industrial complex and the energy infrastructure that ensures their functioning. Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, formations and military units of the combined group of forces will continue to conduct active offensive operations with the aim of completely liberating Donbass. The report is concluded.
Thank you. Pause. Generally speaking, what we are observing is that the combined forces are increasing pressure along the entire front line. In recent days, control has indeed been established over several large settlements, which are of great importance for further actions to liberate the entire territory, including that which is still under enemy control. The commander of the center group of forces, Valery Nikolaevich, at our meeting on October 25th, reported on the encirclement of the AFU group in the Krasnoarmeysk-Dmitrovsk agglomeration. Valery Nikolaevich, did I correctly understand the chief of the General Staff that the city of Krasnoarmeysk is now in our hands?
Yes.
Report more details, please.
Forces of the center grouping continue to carry out tasks to defeat the enemy on the Dnepropetrovsk axis in accordance with the plan approved by the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces. On the Krasnoarmeysk direction, the Second Army, with forces of the 30th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade, the 506th, 439th, and 1435th Motorized Rifle Regiments of the 27th Guards Motorized Rifle Division completed the liberation of the city of Krasnoarmeysk. Currently, the search and destruction of remnants of small enemy groups attempting to hide in urban areas is underway. The destruction of enemy formations in Dimitrov continues. The southern part of the city has been completely liberated. Clearing operations are currently underway. The enemy's forces in the northern sector are now securely blockaded. All attempts by the enemy to break out or to relieve this trapped group have been unsuccessful. It is estimated that between 1,500 and 2,000 people are currently trapped in the northern part of the city. The enemy is making repeated attempts to break the blockade and is also trying to break out of regarding the cities, but there was no success, as I have already reported. All enemy attacks are being repelled, no breakthrough is permitted. Troop formations, in accordance with your instructions, are carrying out measures to create conditions for the cessation of resistance and the surrender of Ukrainian armed forces personnel. However, the enemy command is actively hindering this in every way. According to Ukrainian soldiers who have laid down their arms, they are forbidden to surrender under threat of execution and reprisals against their family and loved ones. We have also repeatedly recorded instances of Ukrainian FPV drones destroying Ukrainian armed forces soldiers who were approaching our positions with their hands raised. In addition, we continue to develop the offensive on the left flank in the direction of Novopavlovka, which is the enemy's main defense hub in this area. We are encircling the enemy from the southwest, west, northwest, and eastern parts of the settlement.
With the aim of its encirclement, Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, the Center Army Group continues its offensive operations in all directions. All tasks assigned to our formations and military units will be successfully completed. Report concluded.
I'll certainly speak about this again, but right now I want to thank you for the excellent results of your work in Krasnoarmeysk, and you, the entire command staff of the grouping, and of course our guys, our fighters, who are carrying out these combat missions. This is a crucial direction. We all understand its importance, and this will ensure the progressive and systematic resolution of all the primary objectives which are currently confronting us and were initially established from the very beginning in the context of at the start of the special military operation. Thank you.
Serve Russia.
Comrade Supreme Commander, the Vostok Group of Forces, as per the Special Military Operations Plan, is executing tasks in the Zaporizhzhia direction. Units of the military formation are actively advancing in the south of Dnipropetrovsk and eastern Zaporizhzhia regions. The offensive of the 5th, 29th, and 36th Armies is being conducted on a wide front. Today, the 37th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade of the 36th Army has completely liberated Dobropolye. Over the past week, Novoye Zaporozhye and Zatyshe in Zaporizhzhia Oblast, and Tikhoy and Ochrednoye in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast were also liberated. Since November 1st, over 360 square kilometers of territory in these regions have come under the group's control. In Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, 7 settlements have been liberated, and in Zaporizhzhia Oblast, 12. Currently, units of the 29th and 36th Armies are expanding the control zone on the eastern bank of the Goychul River. In addition, units of the 5th Army yesterday entered the settlement of Guliaipol, established themselves on its outskirts, and are conducting street battles to destroy AFU formations in the settlement. The offensive in this sector continues. Comrade Supreme Commander, the destruction of enemy formations in the Zaporizhzhia direction is proceeding as planned, approved by the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces. All tasks assigned to the Vostok Group will be completed.
How do you envision the future development of this situation?
Moving forward, Comrade Supreme Commander, the key will be the defeat of the enemy on the left bank of the Goychul River to continue the offensive further west towards the border of Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhzhia regions, and also the capture of the Guliaipol defensive district. centered in the city of Huliaipolo.
Andrei Sergeyevich, your troops are moving at a pace that it guarantees that we will successfully complete all the tasks that are before us. What I mean is that at this pace of our offensive, the enemy, of course, cannot properly react to it. Right now, in the center grouping's area of responsibility, they were carefully monitoring what's happening around Krasnoarmeysk. So, did I understand correctly that the enemy, at any cost, indeed at any cost, was trying to lift the blockade of Krasnoarmeysk?
Yes, exactly.
And so, without any regard for losses, and in my opinion, understanding that it was already impossible, he still kept sending them. More and more units, well, practically sent to their deaths, without any exaggeration. If we consider that besides nationalist and neo-Nazi battalions, the AFU army is mostly worker-peasant, then they don't pity the common soldier at all. Is what I have just stated truly reflecting reality?
Yes, that is indeed true. The nationalist battalions are not participating in this. They are refusing to carry out this particular task. Here, the newly called up mobilized are carrying out a mission. It's obvious from them, obvious. People were recently called up, they're untrained, they're simply going to slaughter in the direction of Krasnoarmeysk. They're dying there by the tens and hundreds. Such an attitude, of course, I think it's evident that it will continue for a while, but it's simply the extermination of its own people that's happening.
This is what our officers witness on the battlefield, right?
Our officers, our soldiers and their crews, aerial reconnaissance posts, and FPV drone operators are observing this. The tree lines there are completely littered with the corpses of Ukrainian soldiers.
I understand. Well, this is quite a situation. The tragedy, the profound tragedy of the Ukrainian people, which is inextricably linked with criminal acts of this thieving, corrupt junta that seized power in Kiev. Esteemed comrades, the armed forces of the Russian Federation are confidently holding the initiative and continue to carry out the objectives of the special military operation. The offensive of Russian forces is underway across virtually all directions. It can also be stated that the elimination of enemy formations surrounded on the left bank of the Oskol River is going as planned. I also want to acknowledge the effective actions of the formations and military units of the center groups in liberating the city of Krasnoarmeysk. Undoubtedly, it is also essential to mention the successes of the assault units of the Vostok group, which are operating in the Zaporozhye direction. The pace of the advance of formations and military units on this front, as I said, they are truly impressive. I ask that you convey my deepest gratitude to all the personnel of the groupings and to the command staff for this challenging yet critically important work for our nation. I thank you. To the commanders of the military groupings, it is essential to continue carrying out your missions in strict accordance with the overall design of the special military operation. And I've already spoken about this. It is, of course, for the Ministry of Defense and the General Staff to think about the supply of troops for the upcoming winter period.